Hey guys, I thought I would show you a sample film for this assignment. I did this assignment just now. I chose Cool Hand Luke. So for the Stuck Inside film, I chose that film, and I chose to analyze the scene in the yard where Luke and Dragline fight. I looked at it in terms of character development and theme, that Luke resists any kind of power structure, any kind of authority, and that's symbolized in his fight with Dragline. I looked mostly at that scene. I looked a little bit at the scene afterwards and a little bit about the scene beforehand, just with cutaways. But mostly I analyzed the editing, the composition, and the duration of shots, and the variety of shots that give us the psychological effect that show us not just Luke's resistance to authority, but the ripple effect that that has on other characters, being the important motivation for that whole film, as exemplified in that scene. Take a look.
Lucas Jackson does not like authority. He's either unwilling or unable to conform to anyone's will.
You don't listen much, do you, boy?
I ain't heard that much worth listening to. There's a lot of guys laying down a lot of rules and regulations.
This attitude earns him a great deal of trouble.
You better come along with us.
Emotional abuse, and physical abuse. But also an immense amount of respect. So how does he get it?
I don't care if it rains or freezes, as long as I got my plastic Jesus sitting on the dash.
At the end of Luke's second day in prison, we know as an audience that something very important has happened.
And he beat you at nothing. Just like today when he kept coming back at me with nothing.
Yeah, well, sometimes nothing can be a real cool hand.
It's the title of the film.
Move over. Go sit in here next to my boy. Here, Luke.
So it asks us to take a really close look as to why it's important to Luke, Dragline, and the power dynamics of this whole world. So I'll flash you back to the night before.
You see how she was just about popping out at the top of that dress? Come on, Drag, cut it out.
Luke didn't appreciate Dragline teasing the men with his crude and imaginative recollection of the voluptuous woman they saw washing her car while on the chain gang.
She liable to catch cold running around like that. It was stressed so
This was a pretty cringeworthy scene, dated and sexist in its obvious objectification. There's no way this film passes the Bechdel test. But Luke objects to the power that the woman held over the prisoners in the moment, and now Dragline's using that power to torture the men.
Forget it, man.
What do you mean, forget it?
Stop beating it into the ground. You ain't doing nobody no good.
Anytime someone's using their power to control somebody,
Okay, new
Luke
meat.
resists.
You get some sleep. And save your strength, cause you're gonna need it. Tomorrow.
Dragline sees Luke's protest as an insult to his power, and he seeks to maintain that power through violence. The film has now cut away to a series of extreme close-ups, one of feet approaching and one to a slow push-in of a fan, and the intensity of the music growing until we smash to the cut of the violence, inevitable and explosive. Now, what the film does here is important. It shows just as many reaction shots as it does shots of the actual fight. We get long shots, we get close-ups, we get a lot of shots of the crowd, because that's what's important, is the influence that power has over people. Dragline with his traditional might makes right attitude, and Luke with his resistance to any kind of power to control him, whatever the cost may be, to his physical body or to his emotional psyche. The filmmakers pull back from the fight for a couple of shots to show us the boss man, the captain, the traditional guards, all watching, observing, and learning about the threat that Luke poses to their traditional power structures. It's about at this point, about halfway through the fight scene, that we start to see some close-ups and we start to see the reaction shots of the men change a little bit. Something is going on different in this fight than is to be expected. Now the time gets a little bit compressed here and we cut quickly to punches being thrown, Luke being hit in the face and being knocked down, and a wide shot showing him get back up in a larger view.
Why don't you just lay down, Luke? He's just gonna knock you down again, buddy.
Not your fault. He's just too big.
Luke is starting to get some support on his side, and we've got a low-angle view. It's a point-of-view shot from Luke. We get a very powerful dragline dominating the frame as a point-of-view shot from Luke. He's even blotting out the sun. Luke decides to get up. We get another staggering point-of-view shot as he's stumbling to his feet. Now back into the fight. Here is a low-angle, very symbolic shot of Luke through the chains that keep him in bondage. This reminds Luke where he is, and rather than be chained and be a prisoner, he decides to get up again. The music clues us in to the emotional build of the scene. The same close-up faces that we saw that were excited at the beginning, hesitant in the middle, are now cringing and turning away and walking away from this moment. Here's a nice tracking shot revealing prisoner after prisoner as they watch Luke's decisions in this moment.
Stay down.
Luke never had a chance in this fight, he doesn't have a chance now, and yet he keeps getting up. This is characterized by reaction shots. It's all about the influence that these choices have on other people, not simply what it means for Luke.
Somebody ought to stop this thing.
The punches and hits are done in the time compression. They happen very quickly, even with some jump cuts. The reaction, the being hit, the falling down, the getting up again, those are almost painfully slow by contrast to emphasize the sheer determination and force of will that it takes. Our reaction shot to the captain shows us how significant this moment really is for the prison. And Luke, too weak to even stand, has clearly lost the fight. Everybody watching knows this. We see that in the faces of the reaction shots, and yet Luke seems to be the only one who doesn't know it.
Stay down. You're beat.
You're gonna have to kill me.
A close-up shows us Dragline's bewildered face, not knowing what to do with the victory that he sought that does not feel like a victory. Still a dominating presence in the frame from a low-angle POV, yet Dragline seems less threatening as he has given up on the fight. Back to the wide shot, the mellow theme music coming back in to let us know the scene is almost over. We're reminded of all the witnesses, the men. As Dragline walks away, we see the reaction shots of the captain who has been watching, the man with no eyes who has been watching, the guards who have all been watching and learning who Luke really is. A man who earns his victory because he does not understand what defeat even is. The way this scene plays out tells us everything we need to know about Luke and how he's different from the other men. By choosing to title the film Cool Hand Luke, from the dialogue in this scene, the filmmakers want to make sure that we fully understand the full significance of the power in that scene.
Again, he beat you at nothing. Just like today when he kept coming back at me with nothing.
Yeah, well, sometimes nothing can be a real cool hand.
Move over. Go sit in here next to my boy.